Hi, and welcome to Three Questions With. Got my buddy Rod Gregoire with us from Merrimack Valley Wi-Fi Pros. Rod, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you for having me on.
So Rod, I asked you to come on the show today because many of us are still working from home and we're facing some challenges. And one of the first things I see is, using our Wi-Fi and our internet. Can you tell me about some of the experiences you see with people trying to work from home where you might have 4 people on the network, all trying to stream and do everything at the same time?
Yeah, that's a great question, Kevin. So I look at it, there's 3 different types of problems you have. This is the way I break them down. So there's your internet connection, and the internet connection is, do you actually have a good connection coming into your home? And for most people, almost everybody, that's true. It's rare when that's not right. Comcast and Verizon get that right, 99.9% of the time. There's an occasional problem. But the other thing is bandwidth. Do you have enough bandwidth? And so everybody looks at, well, I got a 200 meg service. I should be good, right? Well, it depends it's not so much the download. If you have 50 on the download, you're probably good. It's the upload that matters. And if you've got the way to look at it, if you're going to be on Zoom, I'd say 5 megabits per person is what you need. So if it's 1 person, you can have a 5 megabit upload. If it's 2 people, you better go for 10. It's really a little less than that, but with contention, you just be safe. If you got more than 3 people, you're at 20. And and with Comcast, for example, if you get a gig, you get 40 megabits upload. But that means 6 to 8 people is the most you can have working from home. So that's one set of problems. Another set is Wi-Fi. Does your Wi-Fi work everywhere in your home where you need it to? And that's, there are lots of possibilities for that problem. If it works, typically, if your internet connection is good, it works well in the room with a router and everything's good there. But, if your office is upstairs on the east part of your house and your router is in the basement on the west part of your house, it doesn't work. And so, where's the right place to position the equipment? What's the right equipment to cover your whole house? That's the kind of problem I solve all the time. And then the third one is one that nobody thinks about and most people don't even know about, and that is security. And that one is when you connect your home network to your employer's network, your employer has full access to your network. And so, and you have access to your employer's network, but the employer does a great job protecting themselves from all their employees' kids' Xboxes, right? And whatever might be on those. They do a great job doing that, but nobody's protecting their employees from the employer. And it's not so much you're worried about your employer and what they will do, but you should worry about rogue employees because from a computer security perspective, those are the biggest threat in companies. And when you hook your network up to work, they've got access to everything on your network unless you do the right thing. And so that's another area I try to help people with the right way. What are the best practices for setting up your network?
So Rod, you just scared everyone watching. Well, I mean, like you said, and when you mentioned that, I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's obvious, but most people are never going to think of it or go, really, my company has better things to do than scan my network. But again, you get into all sorts of legal things if they find something on your network they don't like. And then they call you saying, hey, we saw this. And you're like, well, why are we on my network? But I was chuckling at your first answer because I tried to use a different alternative for my Wi-Fi. And exactly, I turned on all my TVs, all my computers, all my laptops, everything was going. I'm like, woo, it works. Until I tried to upload a file to school. It didn't work at all, Rod. I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. I was like, yeah, I saved money. This works great. I was so excited. Yes. And it was like, this file will upload in 37 minutes. It does, it does it in 2 on the other alternative. I'm like, I was so close and stuff. Now, one thing that I hear all the time, Rod, is about positioning the router. Like I have mine in the basement and I read all the time, it really should be on a higher floor. Is that necessarily true?
Yeah, really, it all depends on how your house is constructed and, style of your home, but generally higher is better. And so you want to get centrally located. Really, I've done this before. If a router says it covers 2,000 square feet, well, that's only if there are no walls, refrigerators, fireplaces, or furniture in the way. And if you think about what's 2,000 square feet, the signal off your router is a sphere. It's a 25-foot radius diameter, actually, on the, it's a 25-foot radius on your router. So if it's at one end of your house and your house is longer than 25 feet long, well, the signal is going to be pretty weak as you get towards the outside of that. And that's true for, so if it's in the middle, you can go out 25 feet. But if you got a little bit larger home, that's still, everything on the edge is going to be hard to get to. And it's less than that when you consider there are walls and furniture and refrigerators and everything in the way. It's more like 15 to 20 feet is as far as you get. And so, a router's in a central location gets you the best coverage, but probably not your whole house.
So now, Rod, is that something you can help people with when you come out to look at their Wi-Fi? Can you say, hey, if we moved it into this room, you'd have a stronger signal? Is that like trial and error, or is there a way to know how to do that?
Yeah. So generally, the router goes where it is. That's exactly what I do. I go to your house. I have special software that allows me to do a Wi-Fi survey. I can check the signals and the download upload speed in every single room. I can see if there's a noise problem, an interference problem from your neighbor, whether it's just an old router that's the problem, the signal strength. I can do all that stuff, and I see all that stuff, and I use that data to figure out how to solve your particular problem in your home. So if it's just coverage problem, there's probably, depending on the size of your house, there may not be a location to move the router to cover the whole house. You'll need some type of additional device to do that. And that is often the solution that is warranted in homes that I go into. Most of the homes are bigger. They're 1,500 or 1,400 or bigger, and some are much bigger. And a single router, of course, won't work in those homes.
So now, how about extenders? I remember years ago trying an extender, and I had very limited luck with it. Is that a solution? What's the solution to extend it if I need to?
So if you're a single person in a small home and there's just a small area that doesn't work, and you can place the extender halfway between that area and your router, it might work for you. But extenders are an old technology. They don't work very well. Every one you deploy cuts everything in half. Your bandwidth doubles the amount of time for everything to happen. And you can't have multiple people really working on them. They're just not a good solution. That old technology has been replaced today by mesh networks, and then tri-band mesh networks in particular. And those networks are a bunch of routers that know how to coordinate and route packets throughout your home. And if one router gets overloaded, you can actually use another router in another part of the home to handle some of the traffic. They're very sophisticated. It's very sophisticated networking technology that's been around in the commercial world for a long time, but now it's in the home. And the tricky part with those is just getting the placement right. And I use that Wi-Fi survey to do that. My Wi-Fi survey tells me where to put the routers. You can get it by trial and error. You wander around your house, spend hours, sometimes days, trying to figure the right spot. But I can do it pretty quickly with my tools.
That makes sense and stuff. Now, going back to the concern over an employer potentially seeing my network, there's a way you can lock that down for us?
Yes, and that's pretty simple. And this is something anyone can do. And it's all the consumer routers, any recent router that's available, whether it's from Fios or Comcast, or you buy your own, which is often what I recommend. They have a guest network setting. And that guest network has some very special capabilities. It has what's called device isolation. So when you connect to the guest network on your router, you can only access the internet. The only place you can go to is the router. You can't see any other devices on the network. So it's intended for when people come over to your home, they can, you give them the guest network to use on, so that they, whatever's on their phone can't snoop around your house, right? And they don't know that it's on their phone, they're your friends, but it could be on their phone doing that. And so that's what it's typically used for, but you can use it to connect to your work from. So if you connect to your work from your guest network, then work cannot see anything else on your network. The only thing they can see is your work computer. which is what you want. And so that's an easy way to protect yourself that no one thinks of, but it is a way to do it. Protect yourself from your employer's network.
Makes perfect sense. Rod, what's the best way for people to reach out if they want to learn more?
So they can always call me. My number is 978-577-5884, or even text me at that number, or check me out on my website at www.mvwifipros.com.
Rod, I really appreciate a couple of minutes to come on the show. And as always, thanks for being my friend.
Sure thing, Kevin.